何？
私の全部をあげるからゴーストの全部使わせて。
勝つさ。
Hello and welcome to Sakura Society, an anime appreciation podcast where we aim to show that anime is far more than just tentacles and catgirls. There's also countless stories of love, loss, laughs, hope, horror, and happiness that are just dying to be found. And I, Brendan White, the Salt and Pepper Senpai, I'm here to help you find them. Sakura Society is proudly powered by our friends over at Audio Technica and Ice-T Aesthetics. Go upgrade your audio and merchandise game today, preferably after you finish listening to this fantastic upcoming episode we're about to take you through very shortly. And joining me in the Segoy studio is a man last heard waxing lyrical about Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai when he's not mentally trapped in 2008. Thanks to the Endless 08 podcast, you'll find him designing tabletop RPGs or tearing up the dance floor. You can find him on the interwebs at duffhounds.itch.io. That's duffhounds.itch.io. Duffo, you legend. Welcome back to the studio. How much you be doing, my friend?
Hello, thank you. Thrilled to be back. Very excited.
Very excited too. This is, I guess, technically the third dance we've done on this podcast-shaped dance floor, but sadly, one of those is lost to the ether. Maybe we'll revisit that eventually, but it's good to have you back.
Yeah, it is. And, I had a great time with Bunny Girl Senpai, even going forward after that. I really enjoyed it.
It's so fun. Have you been watching Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus? Have you been watching the latest season currently airing on Crunchyroll?
Not up to it yet. Would love to.
Give it time.
Currently on the movies.
That's cool. And I like as well they're finishing off the story with one last film. I think it's coming out, I was going to say next year, but it's already 2026, which is sort of crazy to say out loud. It's the first time I think I've
yes.
publicly acknowledged that we're in a new year now. But I'm excited to be talking anime with you, and I'm excited to be sort of doing something a little different here on the podcast as well. So obviously we don't need to sort of go through your origin story in grave detail because we did unpack all that and then some on episode 35 of the podcast. So go back and check that out. Links will be in the show notes as well. But we're going to do something different because I did touch on your love and obsession and ability when it comes to designing and writing tabletop RPGs. You've most recently released one to much fanfare. What would you say, about 5 months ago now? Or is my maths way off there?
No, you're right. I did a Kickstarter back last January, February, and the proper digital edition got its first release in July. It was in October because that was when I was doing PAX Melbourne.
Yes,
and I went down and exhibited there. That was a great time.
Yeah. So the title in question that you did release, back end of 2025 now. God, the years are killing me. It's titled "This World Summons Too Many Heroes." So yeah, we were sort of talking offline about getting you back on here and talking more anime, but we thought what could be more fun as well as maybe weaving in some TTRPG related shenanigans here and maybe stepping me through this world because there is some synergies here with Sakura Society and This World Summons Too Many Heroes. So I might sort of throw the hosting duties over to you here, Duffo, and you can sort of take us through the world at large and whatever else you want to sort of showcase here on the potty.
Yeah, absolutely. This World Summons Too Many Heroes, as the title might suggest, it is an isekai-themed adventure. It is a power fantasy, and it's about having lots of big, ridiculous powers and being in a world filled with other people with big, ridiculous powers. The setting behind it is that there is this fantasy world called Seria, which has been plagued by this dark lord, this crypt arch-lich. And the hero they summoned to deal with it was one that has a special gift given by the goddess of reincarnation, a gift that allows him to spell copy any magic he finds in the world. He can copy into a spell scroll. So he goes on his big quest. He defeats the demon lord, and he says, "I'm going to go on vacation after this. And what I'm going to do, in case there's any other problems or demon lords, I'm just going to use my spell copy to make 300 other versions of the spell you summoned me with. And I'm just going to hand those around, and you'll don't do anything irresponsible. I'm out of here." And yeah, as soon as he leaves, all of the kingdoms immediately start fighting over the scrolls, using them left, right, and center. They get stolen by all kinds of nefarious people. We get more, demon lords. We get people summoned for dark means. And by the time your characters arrive in this, you are a party of people who have all been summoned as heroes and are sort of like on this quest to collect as many of these scrolls as possible to stop people using them for dumb reasons.
So good. So good. And like you mentioned, it is very isekai coded, but like it feels and sounds like it's already better than maybe 95% of the isekai that I've watched over my lifetime, because there is a lot of rubbish out there, but I love this concept. It feels very fresh somehow in a world of like endless isekai.
Yeah, I like that. Like putting it in players' hands and be like, hey, you could probably do this better. Show us how you do it. And the characters are, fairly light and modular and come together quickly. So I'd love to make one with you. I'd love for you to sit down and make a character with me.
I think that sounds fantastic. I've already got my character sheet up. So, you can be my very humble navigator here and sort of steer me around this world and this sheet, and we can put a character together here live on the pod.
Yeah. So on page 3, you've got a book in front of you.
Yep.
You've got some instructions on how this comes together. Characters all have an archetype. This is the kind of hero plot that they have. For instance, like the hero, you are summoned as a hero by a kingdom is one of these. Demon Lord is one of these. You are summoned by monsters. The bystander is someone who is just like accidentally summoned.
There's some great ones. I was debating the bystander because that is very isekai tropey, but I'm wondering, because I've been sort of hyper fixated on omniscient reader's viewpoint, so I'm debating the reader potentially as my my archetype here, to sort of lean into sort of that world that I'm sort of a little bit sort of hyper fixated on at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. The reader is one where Saria was a video game or a book or something from your previous world. And now that you've come into it, you have this prior knowledge. And you'll see here, each of these archetypes comes with one of two abilities. Achievement Hunter is one of them, where it's like you happen to know where a bunch of rare items are in this world. But the other one here is Starstream, which is omniscient reader's viewpoint reference.
I think Starstream, like if we're going to lean in, I figure we may as well lean all the way in here with the reader archetype. So like the Achievement Hunter does sound great, and having that sort of leg up to know where all the rare loot is straight off the bat could probably really put me in a good spot early. But yeah, let's go Starstream.
Yeah, and Starstream's fun because it lets the actual players at the table be your sponsors. And the players at the table can choose to give your character different magic throughout the game.
So good. So good. All right, jotting this down now.
Yeah. You'll see that there are suggested classes attached to each of these, but it's not a class-locked game. As long as it makes sense, you can go with any class, and that is what we pick next. These are what you'd typically think of in an isekai or in a video game as the classes that you pick. These are your knight, your mage, all these kinds of things. And you've got these more unusual ones in there. Reincarnated is a choice, so you've got like beast and living weapon as options in here.
There's so many cool ideas here. Any suggestions you think that would pair well with sort of what we're building out at the moment? Like I do see under here like Alchemist, Berserker, and Spell Sword are sort of the recommended or suggested classes if I was sort of to follow the reader path. And Spell Sword or Berserker could be fun. I don't think I want to do Alchemist, but unless we go really out there, I'm happy to sort of pivot to something else as well.
Yeah, Spell Sword is a fun one. It's built around like summoning spectral weapons. And the way this game works with weapons is all of the weapons have tags on them. Like you might have a bloody tag, which means that you have an extra, you get an extra hit point when you defeat someone, or it has some effect when you attack somebody. Normally you attach all of these tags to your weapon, and you can like customize them and use enchantments to make them better. But for the Spell Sword, theirs works a bit differently because you're just putting all of these things in a big pool. And every time you pull a weapon out, you can choose which of those abilities are on that particular weapon.
That's down. Okay. I think you've sold me there. Like I read the single line clef note under the class directory, and it's like Spell Sword sounds great, but then you sort of just elevated it to another level. So all right, I'm gonna go with the Spell Sword as my class.
Mm-hmm.
Where to from here, Duffo?
So characters in this game, you roll with D6s, you roll with pools of D6s, and it's based on whatever your best result is. There are 3 attributes in this. This is might, which represents all your strength and power based things. Mm-hmm. Mastery, these are your skills and technical abilities. And then you have mischief, which is your fool around, deceiving people, getting in behind people. And across these, you have 7 points to distribute across these. Whichever one is your highest decides which of the more advanced abilities you get. Like a class, let's actually go down to spell sort here. You'll see that you have your basic abilities on one side.
Mhm.
Anyone with that class gets those. But on the right, you have a might ability, a mastery ability, and a mischief ability.
God, and they sound great. 4 weapon style.
Yeah, so
Spectral
like
barrage. Okay.
yeah, your might one here is that you were like summoning a bunch of swords out of the air and just doing a huge AoE attack. Yes, the mastery ability is that you get to start turning them into like bows and magic weapons earlier. And then your mischief one is your blade swap, which is that you can swap weapons with anyone on the battlefield.
God, that sounds game breaking almost when you come up against some real big heavies. So, okay, I love this. So I don't have any dice in front. Do you mind rolling for me to sort of see how it sort of stacks out here?
Yep. I'll just roll a d6 here and we'll go might, mischief, mastery. All right, that one has landed on mastery.
Okay. How am I? You said out of 7?
Yeah. So like a 4-2-1 build is very common, or a 3-3-2, or you can really min max and go like 5-1-1.
Okay. All right. So you reckon the 4 into mastery is a good way to go?
Yeah.
And then maybe mischief. I think I'm gonna put 1 into might and then the 2 into mischief, because who doesn't like mischievousness? Okay.
Yeah. And the final thing, and this is also affected by which of your attributes is highest, is that you get a gift. I do recommend that the gifts are randomly rolled, and there are some good tables down here, just of whatever game-breaking ability you might possibly get here. So I'll roll on the mastery table.
Okay.
There we go. 4 means it will be from the second column. 2, that is a nice ability to get. That is infinite storage. You have a storage skill that can hold an infinite amount of material.
Okay. And when you say material, is that like anything? Like, is this just like almost like a loot box that I can put anything into?
Anything, yes.
Oh, yeah. That's something that I've always wanted in real life somehow. Anytime I see any type of fantasy or fantasy adjacent where they've got a spectral or mystical type of realm, or like an infinite bag where they can just be funneling things in and out of, like, yeah, that sounds pretty nice. Okay, so infinite storage is my gift here. Okay.
Yeah. And like a lot of them are like references to different isekai. A lot of them are just like video game cheats and speedrunning things. Like invincibility frames is one of the mastery ones, where you can just like avoid attacks by holding a certain pose.
It's so good. I love the truck coon that you've got there under mastery gifts for the
so
for the
good
3
one.
Roll.
You've got a small truck or minibus and it's powered by magic.
So good. Okay, I'm liking this character that we're building out here. I think I need to sort of find some time to make you run me through, or next time you have like an online game that you're running, let me know, because I want to bring this reader along.
Yeah, absolutely. And of your weapons, you would go through and find like, if you start with a sword, you have these small melee tags. Like I said, we have like, parry, combo, things that you would put together. And for your particular character, that would all go into your special pool with all of the magic weapons you pull out. And like, from there, like people create this character and they could be like, okay, I can already picture the kind of person this is. And they start piecing this together.
I just love how quickly we're getting this up and running. Like I've played, I reckon in my life, maybe half a dozen games of D&D. I've done Star Wars, The Witcher, traditional D&D, and the amount of time and love and labor and stress that can go into building out a character sheet is immense. Where we've just rolled in here in like sub 10 minutes, and we've sort of got something partially built out, and they're still full of love. And like, I'm still all in on this spell sword already after a couple of minutes.
Yeah. And I think like, as I run this for people, they do often go, oh, I can just run this as like a one-off for my usual table group. Like we just sit down on a week where we can't quite get all of our players together, and we just make this and we have characters in 10 minutes, and then we have fun with it.
So good. How long would you say a typical game of this World Summons Too Many Heroes would run for, Duffo, as well? Like, is this like something that can be like a nice one-shot, or are you sort of building it out to be able to sort of run this as a long, multi-sort of episodic campaign, or where's the sweet spot?
Yeah, it's kind of built for like one-shots or short campaigns. I find it works best as. It's got a campaign that I've written in the back of the book, which is the one that I was running at PAX for everyone. And so I was sitting down and running like 2-hour sessions for everyone. And in that time, we more or less got through the first act of the game.
Perfect. Are you debating, because obviously you're content creator as well, Endless 08 podcast, are you thinking of potentially recording some of This World Summons Too Many Heroes into some sort of episodic podcast or long form content down the line?
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to pull people together to get that. I've also been talking a lot with Etten, who's my editor on this project, and he's really pressing me to do a sort of Gun Gale Online themed expansion for it, where it's like sci-fi.
Yes, please do any and all of the above. It sounds great, and I think the biggest takeaway from what you just said as well, because I know, at least for me as a player or a fan of this medium, like the sheer scope can be very daunting sometimes, knowing that this could take weeks, months, years, potentially of my life to sort of see some of this stuff through to its completion. But when you're saying you can be running one of these campaigns where you're finishing an act in the span of a couple of hours, and you can have a full experience over the span of maybe a couple of sessions, I think that sounds really nice. Like, that's really nice, digestible content that isn't too time consuming, but you're still going to get a full experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% what I was aiming for, and I hope that people are getting a lot out of it. I've been hearing great things from people who are enjoying the game.
So good. And anything else we want to step through on this character sheet, or what do you reckon? Should we start talking some anime?
We start talking some anime.
Okay. All the links, obviously, to This World Summons Too Many Heroes is available in the podcast show notes. So do yourselves a favor, check it on out, support Duffo, support all the fantastic work he's doing, not only with this title, but also several of the other titles that he's put together over the years, and pay it forward where you can. But listeners, viewers, Segoy Squad, if this is your first time stopping on by the podcast, first and foremost, thank you. But secondly, what took you guys and girls so goddamn long? We're doing fantastic stuff here on this podcast RSS feed, but the way this podcast itself works and is aiming to function is, what we do here is we take specific anime. These can be anime that either myself or my co-host have or have not watched, or something we just feel is going to be really fun to revisit and unpack. And we're going to sort of typically watch the first 1 through to 3 episodes just to get a bit of a high-level overview of it, get a bit of an understanding of this world, the characters, the themes, the tones, and work out if this is an anime worth persisting with. Because, obviously we're very time poor these days. There's a lot of stuff happening in our lives. The worst thing you want to do is commit to 3 potential seasons of anime and go, man, the payoff was not worth it. This sucks. I've wasted my time. I've got anime regret. So what we're here to do is to unpack it very high level. There will be spoilers throughout. So the first 3 episodes will be diving through plot points and character developments during these 3 episodes, just to give you guys and girls a nice, clear understanding of this anime and work out, is it an anime for me? That's sort of our biggest intention here. There's no barrier to entry here. This is a podcast aimed at familiar fans of anime, lapsed fans of anime, or potentially new fans of anime. We're trying to make this fun, informative, and accessible. So very excited to be talking about this one today, Duffo, because this is one that you recommended, and I think it perfectly weaves in to not only the content that sort of you're doing, obviously, with 2008 themed anime recaps and reviews, but also the fact that we just sort of worked our way through a little bit of sort of a magical sort of realm there with This World Summons Too Many Heroes. So this is the introduction to the podcast done, and now we're going to shift into our title and focus. Duffo, imagine if science gone wrong and church mystery thriller had an anime baby and then gave it the worst luck power ever. Today we're diving into a certain magical index where magic meets superpowered students, and one guy's right hand ruins everything and nothing. The series began life as a fantasy science fiction light novel written by Kazuma Komachi and illustrated by Kiyotake Haimura, first published in April of 2004. Since then, it has grown into a sprawling multimedia franchise spanning multiple manga adaptations, anime series, video games, radio dramas, and a host of spin-offs. Combined sales across all formats now sit at approximately 31 million copies worldwide at time of recording, cementing it at its place as one of the genre's most enduring modern franchises. The anime adaptation first aired in October of 2008, directed by Hiroshi Nishikori and animated by JC Staff, the legendary studio behind such titles as Food Wars, Konosuba, Toradora, Disastrous Life of Psyche K, Prison School, and One Punch Man, even though we'll not talk about season 3 at all. Their involvement brought Komachi's dense world building and explosive power systems vividly to life, helping propel the franchise into the anime mainstream. A certain magical index can be found on Crunchyroll and Netflix, pending your region, and currently holds a score of 7.34 on my anime list. And that is based on 403,000 unique user reviews. And the story is as follows. Welcome to Academy City, a futuristic metropolis where science is king, psychic powers are standard use, and students are pushed to the limits of human potential. At the very bottom of that system sits Touma Kamajo, officially powerless, constantly unlucky, and secretly holding Imagine Breaker, a right hand that can erase any supernatural ability on contact. Everything changes when Touma crosses paths with Index, a girl who has memorized forbidden grimoires and now has the magical world hunting her down. What follows is a collision of science and sorcery where fists meet spells, belief meets magic, and one so-called level 0 stands between chaos and catastrophe. So, Duffo, let's talk 1,000-foot view to begin with. Let's talk, hook and expectations. We can look at this from the first time you touched this material way back when. We can talk about it from that lens as well as the rewatch leading up to this podcast. But let's sort of talk about, how did you sort of first hear about this anime? Like, when did it sort of stumble across you in your timeline? And what were those initial sort of expectations based off, the trailer or the poster or the word of mouth when you first discovered a certain magical index?
This was a show that I discovered back when it very first came out. It would have been in 2008, 2009 when I was given a hard drive by a high school friend that just had, here's all of my older brother's anime that he's found. And just burning through that, this was one of the shows that I tapped into there. I believed this show was called Project Index for a very long time because that's what he had it labeled as. It is not. But, picking this thing up and getting into it, I remember really enjoying it at the time. For Endless 08, we revisited it and we were like, yeah, this is still great. It's definitely really strange, and it's kind of slipped out of the public consciousness, at least with Western anime viewers a lot. Still enormous in Japan. Going over and seeing a huge Misaka poster over there, still incredibly common. When you look at your light novel character polls, Misaka is still ranking number one year after year. It really has a grip, and it's a show that I would like for more people who are into anime to know about.
I think you bang on. It is such a hidden gem, and it makes me upset that not more people in my orbit or in our sort of Western society gives it its flowers, because it's an anime that's been around now since 2008. Obviously, just caught the back end of your podcast requirements there, which I'm yes, very happy for.
I was very lucky.
Snuck in October there. So, a little last minute entry there. But it's really enjoyable. I remember I didn't sort of discover it through a friend's hard drive. We used to sort of infrequently sort of head to Sydney, and there was a bootleg anime manga VCD store in Chinatown that we used to always go to, nondescript, minimal signage. You'd go in there and you'd be one of the few white people in there. Everyone else is, masters of the craft and know it very well. And you almost have that Western saloon moment when we'd walk in with who are these stupid white idiots from the country that have just rolled in? And we just randomly sort of flick through all these VCD cases. And I just saw this one and I'm like, you know what? I love sort of high school related shenanigans. I love magic. The characters look great. Very, very archetypey as far as, Kamajo with the black, dark, spiky hair and the blue eyes, very, very sort of anime protagonist trope personified there. But then you see little Index and the silver hair, the holier than thou outfit. And you're like, what is going on here? This looks like a fun vibe. And I remember picking up the VCD sort of box set they had there for season 1 and, watching it when I got home and just having such a fun time with it. It's really digestible. It's easy to watch. It respects your time and it's just fun. It's just really fun. There's good laughter. There's good pacing. And, some of these things are obviously going to talk about in more detail, but I just remember not really knowing much about it until I stumbled into that store, but I was just drawn into that sort of key visual on the box art going, this looks fun. I'm going to give it a go. And remember going home and not being disappointed at all. And then with the rewatch now, because I think I've only ever watched through all 3 seasons once. So this is sort of my second go around, and fool me once, Crunchyroll, but I wasn't paying full attention, but I jumped on to watch it on Crunchyroll earlier this week, and they've only got season 3 on there. And I started watching it, and I was like 15 minutes through the first episode, and I'm like, I don't remember this being like, why is there so much happening on here that doesn't make sense the way it should for a first episode go? And then I hit pause, looked at the synopsis, and yeah, season 3, episode 1. So I'm like, oh, God damn it. Okay. So I went and tracked it down elsewhere and rewatched it, and it holds up so well. It's still just as enjoyable. And we're sort of saying offline before we hit record that I think I'm gonna persist after watching these first 3 episodes, just work my way through this entire first season and then into future seasons. Like, it's just that good.
Yeah, the pacing is great. You're right. Like, things just keep coming.
It's just so enjoyable. It's easy viewing. It's respectful viewing. And I think just the way it's done right from these opening scenes, like, it's just got a really, really strong hook. And it just like re-grabbed me rewatching it again this week once I landed on the right season and episode. So it felt a lot better once I actually aired season 1, episode 1 instead of season 3, episode 1. But let's shift off. Let's look at story and world building. As far as that world set up, like, we're dropped right into Academy City, which is, that futuristic metropolis where we're seeing science ruling and students developing those Esper-like abilities through advanced research. Power equals status in this world. And if you're a level 0 like Touma, you're pretty much invisible, lowest of the low, very downtrodden, very disregarded, and just getting no respect from your peers and from people around you. But then we quickly find out, Touma isn't powerless. His right hand has got this ability called the Imagine Breaker, which negates all supernatural phenomena. We're talking Esper abilities, magic, even divine miracles. And in a city obsessed with power rankings, like, I feel he's very much like a walking contradiction.
Yeah, this was something I was interested in coming back to this, because I remembered this detail that he's just got an arm that stops all magic and powers from happening. And I was like, that's very overpowered. Like, is this going to be like a problem for the plot? And the answer is you get into this, and almost every encounter he gets into, someone's got a way to deal with that. We watched the first 3 episodes here, and the hand is not what wins him the big fight in these next 3 episodes. It's him actually thinking through how people's magic power works and finding ways to undermine that. And that is, a theme that goes on through the rest of the show. It is about his tactics rather than about the sheer power that he has.
And I think that's what I really appreciate with this sort of rewatch and just the storytelling that's unfolding here. I like that he's just not brute forcing his way through everything. Like, he's thinking around real world ramifications and how certain elements will and won't react to certain things. Like, it's very cleverly done. Even though the tone can be a little silly and whimsical, there is a lot of intelligence at play here with the world and sort of with the Esper abilities, which I really appreciate. And even though he is that walking contradiction, that contradiction, I feel that, like, it very quickly escalates in this first episode when we're introduced to Index, who is this runaway nun with 103,000 grimoires stored in her mind. So she's pretty much got, like, the world's magical abilities and secrets all locked in a vault because she's got this photographic memory. And she literally falls into his life. I guess she already fell when he first sees her because she's, passed out, leant over the railing of his apartment complex there. But like her arrival immediately confirms we've got like a pretty big dangerous truth here where magic is existing alongside science, and these two systems are locked in this very quiet yet very brutal war. So it's like, it's funny, it's whimsical. There's also this dark underbelly in this world where there's, violence and death and stakes that are very high. And it really, really grabbed me from the get-go as far as that world setup goes.
Yeah, you've got that fun detail there where science is something that's out in the open. Like, the Japanese government has built this entire city, Academy City, where they live, just for trying to increase people's powers, which is what most of the characters are there doing. Whereas magic is a thing that is taken as to be like completely secret. It is not in the open. All magicians have to be very on the down low. And the war that they wage with the world of science is a secretive one. And they're telling people consistently that if you were to learn about magic, like, it would actually have a negative effect on most people's brains. It like burns you out, even just learning the power of this knowledge.
I think it's very well done as far as setting the stakes. And one like plot device they use for sort of storytelling advancement is I do like that they use Touma as a narrator throughout these episodes as well to sort of add further context and also give us thoughts on how he's feeling and thinking through these scenarios, as well as, help recap the episode before. Like, it feels very, very 2000s with the last week on a certain magical index type of recap. Like, I'm all for that. I wish more anime would bring it back because it's just such a nostalgic touchstone for me.
It's good. Listen, a lot happened last episode, or like it recaps the whole of the arc, and you're like, okay, good, I know where I am at.
But I do appreciate as well that it respects the viewer's intelligence in a way where, yep, it does give you a sprinkling of those recap breadcrumbs, but it isn't too heavy-handed and too unassuming as far as you need everything. It's just like, no, here's the high level, now on to episode 2, episode 3, etc., etc. As far as that progression goes, like, yeah, we see episode 1, like, we get the introduction to Academy City. We learn that it's, a third the size of Tokyo. 80% of the people that reside in Academy City are students. So we sort of can get really quickly familiar with the world and these characters, whether they be mainline side characters or just sort of background characters, very quickly. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, the introduction of magic sort of starts to shatter this scientific world pretty quickly. And yeah, sort of seeing that, yeah, Touma has this power that can cancel everything. Like you said, I was worried, I'm like, is this just going to break this anime and my belief in that the stakes are not always going to be so one-sided to Touma? But no, it's managed in a nice way. Episode 2, we see these ideas start to transition into violence. We're introduced to Steel, who, attacks with his ritual fire magic. And, we'll talk more about the scenes and characters soon. But I really enjoyed his introduction into this episode because the stakes get escalated nicely. That conflict that we heard about in the first episode really starts to become deadly and realized. And then in the third episode, that scope widens even further when we hear about Necessarius, the Church of Necessary Evil that Index is part of, because she's part of the English Puritan Church, and they've got this subsect called Necessarius, which is a group that is, treating magic as something that they want to control as opposed to worship. And I like that after these first 3 episodes, you go, man, like, this world, it's got this feeling of ancient and, like, so much historical information here. There's this political intrigue now attached to this, and it's so much bigger than just a simple school setting. So that progression from episode 1 through 3, as far as the story and the world building, really just stacks on top of each other so nicely.
Yeah, if you're a person who likes lore in your shows, this absolutely has it. And like, a lot of things that like happen in this show have knock-on effects to other things, and it's very satisfying watching it all. Like, even the opening events of this, like, we're talking about like Index being this main character and our main girl for the show, but she's not the first girl we're introduced to. It's actually Railgun who's introduced first.
And she just is a little ball of human energy, you could say, for lack there of a better term. Like, yeah, Misaka, she like you said, she's beloved out there in our society, but in this world, she's adored because, she's a level 5 Esper, and yeah, she's got these fantastic electrical abilities. But her introduction, where like in the opening scenes in this episode, we see Touma sort of at a restaurant, I assume, or some little cafe after school. And you can see that Misaka is getting accosted by these random bunch of dudes, and Touma doing the right thing. He's like, I'm going to step in and try and save this girl and protect this girl. But no. She doesn't need no saving. She doesn't need no protecting, because, yeah, we find out shortly after there that, yeah, she's known as Railgun, and she's an absolute powerhouse of a human being, and she takes offense to being saved by Touma and chases him and then is delivering these massive big electrical based blows to him. And yeah, we see his negating ability in full effect there, where he just absorbs all this electricity that she shoots at him. But I like, again, the world building and the storytelling off the back of that, the flow-on effect, where we see him wake up the next day in his apartment. Oh, I've got no electricity now because that big fight last night. All the food in my fridge is spoiled because my fridge isn't powered. Like, it's just really smart, intelligent storytelling that just connects all these little beats effortlessly. And I really, really appreciate it on the rewatch, where I'm like, not many shows, whether it be anime or otherwise, would have the intelligence and the know-how to sort of connect things like that and make it all into one little woven thread.
Yeah, it's a show like it flags for you right away that it's going to be subverting your expectations a lot. Like, like it opens with like there's this huge crowd of guys chasing him down the street, and you're like, oh, they're mad at him because he tried to get him away from the girl. But it flips around. It's like, no, he stepped in because he saw all of the guys go to harass her. And it's like, oh, she's going to explode all of them. I need to stop that from happening.
It's so good. It's so good. As far as sort of the genre, the tone, and the fan service, like tonally, a certain magical index, I feel it is very much like urban fantasy meets science fiction, where we do have this layering of comedy and some light harem energy sprinkled in there too. Fan service does exist, but it's mostly situational and comedic, like awkward cohabitation, banter, and chaos, rather than indulgence and just blatant, TNAs, which is nice. Like we do see some implied nudity in this first episode about 10 minutes in with poor old Index's
her clothes
magical robe
off.
just getting blown to bits due to Touma's negate ability. But it's done in a nice way. So this anime, it is definitely more than hentai, like definitely more than fan service. It's science fiction, fantasy, politics, thriller disguised as high school chaos. And like it's genre-wise, there is a bit of density of the crossover, I think. Like we've got rules-based sci-fi powers, we've got myth-driven magic systems, we've got high school slice of life glued between life or death conflicts, but it all just works, Duffo.
Yeah, I found it interesting when we were discussing this show on Endless '08. There was this note from the first light novel that the author had written where he's talking about what he was doing with this show. And he was talking about when you find like magic and magic using characters in anime, often what that's come from is these ideas have come from video games. And, the video games, even the early arcade games kind of base a lot of their stuff in Dungeons and Dragons. Even your like first Final Fantasy, it's got like mind flayers and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going into like Tower of Jiraga, all that early stuff. And it's like, so it's all sort of rooted in this space where casting a spell uses your magic points. And it's just like you spend that out of your bar and you cast a fireball, and that's the thing that happens. And he's saying like so many shows or other light novels were kind of like treating magic in this way. Like it's just you can use it until you can't. And it was him sort of exploring this and going, what has happened historically with magic? Magic is a thing throughout history. You need to cast a ritual. You need to do big spell circles. You need to have these particular things going on. What if there was a setting where magic was way more involved than just I summon fireball? What would that mean, and how much more powerful and interesting could those characters get?
And it's so well done, like the use of runes and spell circles and chants and stuff. Like I do love that it is like, I don't know if I'd say a throwback, but like you said, I think it's more historically accurate, or like, whether magic is historical or real is a debate for a whole another day that I'm not prepared for. But you know what I mean? like you just mentioned, I think it's done more maybe respectful to, I guess, the world and the intrigue and the lore of magic itself. And I think it just really fits this world and these characters and what I was definitely in the mood for when I was doing the rewatch this week. Like it was just checking all the boxes, like little fangirl moments, sort of seeing some of those things that I've forgotten about. Like you mentioned, the spell circles and the chants and the use of runes, and tying into, summoning certain spirits, and even like this spirits and the creatures that these people summon have backstories and are like sentient beings. And like, there's just so much depth to this world, and it throws terminologies and organizations and magic and science at you fast, but it trusts you to keep up. And I feel 99.9% of people will be able to.
Yeah, it's good. I remember I'd kind of described, across the 3 episodes, the fight with Steel Magnus and with the Innocentius as being like the big kicker, the big sort of thing that pulls you in. But going back and watching this again, that 3rd episode where they do the big healing ritual, where Index has been really badly hurt and they need to rope a teacher in to like do this like spell where they're summoning an angel and like using all of these strange effects to like replicate the house that they're in with this little diagram and like link it to the world and create this like artificial temple. Like that was a tense scene. That was cool.
Yeah, the tonal shifts episode to episode could not be more opposite at times, but yet it still works. Like the whiplash wasn't too bad to the point of like breaking immersion, going, this doesn't make sense. Like I was so invested so early in this series that I was just sort of happy to be along for the ride, and everything just slotted in nicely for me. And I think after episode 3, you can sort of see that the stakes they're pretty clear. Like, this isn't about flashy school fights. It's about this hidden war between science and magic. And that was just such a big hook for me. Like, it just sunk its sort of claws so deep into me that I needed some like healing ritual magic to sort of, hopefully survive from how deep these claws were sunk in. Because I was so excited and so happy. And I like as well in the first sort of 3 episode run that we've covered, they do give us a nice assortment of characters we're introduced to. They sort of all get some time to shine. We get a lot of context and backstory. Maybe not so much about Kaori, who sort of we see at the back end of episode 2 for a hot second, and then the back end of episode 3 leading into another potential big showdown for Touma, which has me very excited. But everyone else we meet along the way, leading up to that moment, we understand who they are, where they fit, how they are roughly as people from a high level perspective, and how they all sort of just cohabitate this world. And have you got any standouts or any notables you want to shout out to, Duffo, regarding characters from these first 3 episodes?
Yeah, I mean, like Index really plants herself in as this very strong character. Like, her and Touma have this, it's almost like a brother-sister energy between them, where they start like bickering with each other immediately upon meeting.
And she bites him all the time.
She bites him all the time.
My sister, like when we were growing up, that was her, like if we had conflict, that was her go-to move. Anytime we'd sort of be fighting as brother and sister, she'd just bite me. So it felt very much brother-sister, sort of classic oddball duo here with Touma and Index. And yeah, she's such an adorable little character. She's a literal walking library, 103,000 grimoires worth of knowledge in her head. But then outside of that, her knowledge of just normalized society and life is sort of not really there so much. Like, she's very, naive, but a fun amount of chaos off the back of that naivety. And the fact that she's, food focused is a very relatable thing for me. And, she loves sandwiches. Again, very relatable thing for me. So I found myself rooting for Index early on in episode 1 when I met her.
Yeah, and you've got this fun contrast with her John's pen mode, where she's a very like squeaky, loud, rambunctious character a lot of the time, but she can't see any of the magic that's inside of her head. She can't read these grimoires, and when that information does come out as the grimoire, it's like an autopilot mode that comes over her. Suddenly, she is super calm. She is just reading out these long, complicated sentences, and it's like this weird, like uncanny second self that she's got.
But it just works again, and like Touma as our sort of protagonist, I enjoy that he's a bad luck magnet, but he's got the power to stop all powers. Like, it is such a great mix and it just works. And I appreciate that you can see early on, he's got a heart of gold. He means well. Obviously, he tries to save, in parentheses, Misaka in those opening scenes. Wrong. Sees Index struggling just randomly. Like, there's a random nun hanging over my balcony this morning. I guess I'll bring her in and, feed her. And he even offers her, like, I got to go to school now. Do you want me to leave your key? Like, he's known her for 5 minutes and he's already letting her sort of stay in his apartment. And then obviously we see her get hurt later and he's sort of panicking and doing what he can to save her. Like, he's a protagonist that you can root for. Like, he's believable in his moral code. He's got a really cool power. And the fact that he uses not only power and occasionally brute force, but he uses his brain to a good level, like a good combined level, to be a bit of a triple threat when it comes to some of these conflicts.
The brute force is good. It's very satisfying when he punches steel at the end of that fight, and there is like a full 180 rotation as this guy goes flying. But I think another thing that really sells Touma for me is the level of frustration you feel from this guy, where his power that negates everything, and even negates the luck that he might have in his life. Index gets really hurt here. And the reason that she's not protected by her spiritual armor that she has is because Touma broke it. He gets kicked out of the house in the 3rd episode because if he were there, the healing magic just wouldn't work because his hand would cancel it. And so while he's got this cool power, he's also very annoyed by the things that it limits him and the situations it puts other people in.
Watching this, I couldn't help but think of Undead Unluck, where the main female protagonist has this same sort of ability that Touma has, where whatever she touches, bad luck will soon ensure. So like, she's got the more direct ability that Touma has when it comes to bad luck. His is just bundled in with this negating ability that he's got too. And you feel for him, like he wakes up like that first morning and the fridge has crapped itself, so all the food in the fridge is spoiled. He treads on this delicious looking sandwich. He seems to break 17 cell phones in the span of 3 episodes here. He's treading on them, out of power. Like he's got an infinite cell phone budget in this anime. But yeah, the poor guy, like he's very much eternally down on his luck, even though he's a good dude. Like he feels very undeserved of all this bad luck that he's got, but it just comes from his negate ability.
Yeah. But the good thing is that he's got great people in his life and he will gather more of them.
That's very true. That's very true. And like we mentioned, Misaka, who we mentioned earlier, like she is just this headstrong, confident, badass. Like, yeah, she's a level 5 electricity Esper nicknamed Railgun. We only get her sort of fleeting in these first 3 episodes, but she makes a really big impact, I feel, anytime she's on the screen.
Yeah, her reappearance is nice because from the very first scene, you could be like, oh, she hates him, like they're enemies. And then you see them in this second scene where they're interacting at the vending machine, where she kicks it so hard that a can comes out because they're frustrated that it won't work. And you're like, oh, these two are actually friends with each other.
Yeah, no, they're great. We do meet random blue-haired throwaway horny boy in one of Touma's makeup classes where he's like, the teacher's hot for you. And it's so Komae is this tiny little beautiful ball of energy that we're introduced to as well. She's the teacher at Touma's school. She really breeds nice, normal human energy into this absurd world. Like she's a nice sort of controlling presence, even though we find out in the 3rd episode that, yeah, she also is potentially an alcoholic and a chain smoker because there's 7,000 empty beer cans and 7,000 buttered out cigarettes in her little apartment, even though she's prim and proper and dainty and well put together. In that apartment, you can, I guess, see a little bit of the true Komae there. But she's a really sweet introduction in this first episode. And I didn't forget, but I remember watching it the first time and like just thinking, oh, she's just this sort of cutesy character that plays the teacher that might have a little bit of a forbidden crush on Touma. But then the fact that she does play such a big part, especially in these first 3 episodes to help save Index's life is like she's a great addition to this little ensemble cast.
Yeah, it's nice. I like that she's got the flip. Like she's very cutesy. She's inexplicably much younger than she looks much younger than she is, which they go into more later. But then, yeah, you see her in her home environment. She's like flips over to like sort of the Katsuragi type character immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's a great intro. Like you mentioned, Steel Magnus, which is also still one of the most fantastic names, not only in this series, but in many. Like I wish my parents named me Steel Magnus. Like that is a powerful name.
Well, now his real name, he tells you his real name, which is Fortis 931.
Yeah, which isn't as powerful. And you know what? I like that in that sort of the name explaining scene where him and Touma are first having that exchange outside on the apartment complex balcony and explaining about the names and, what did they call, was it your death name? I can't remember. Is that what they refer to it as?
We call it, it's our magic name, our magician's name. Yeah. And if a magician tells you their name, it means you're about to die soon.
Yeah. So ballsy. And you can sort of see he's this fire wielding magic hunter, but he's got this gravitas and he gives us that early, not only sort of main antagonist vibe, but also early rival vibe for Touma as well. So I'm like, this is Touma's rival. That was the sort of sense and the feeling I got after these first 3 episodes.
He's good because, he comes in and he's like the tough, menacing character, but he's also a character where even from the very start, you can see like he doesn't want to hurt Index and he feels conflicted about what he is doing.
And then we sort of meet another member of Necessarius. Like I said, we see her for a hot second at the back end of episode 2, and that is Kaori Kanzaki, and she's this katana-wielding badass and the first smoke show that you see in a certain magical index. I don't know why, but she's wearing one-legged jeans. She's got a pair of jeans on where one of the legs of the jeans is just completely missing, but she is 100% the siren of the show at this point. And the way sort of the 3rd episode ends where her and Touma are having this showdown, I'm like, ooh, like they're cooking and I'm ready to see what happens next.
Yeah, it's good thousands fashion. And yes, it immediately pulls up like, everyone in this world uses like this sci-fi power or this magic power. She's just got sword. Like what happens when you just introduce a person who's good at using a sword into this?
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, she certainly stood out. Like she was, that sexual siren, this badass, and the fact that she's just wielding a sword where everyone else is utilizing various other abilities. Yeah, I had so much intrigue and like early obsession with this character when I sort of saw her first hit my screen way back when, and that intrigue and obsession quickly reawoken this past week as I was watching it. Let's shift gears. Let's start talking animation and style. What's your sort of feelings and thoughts as far as the animation style? Obviously, I mentioned this was done by JC Staff, a fantastic studio that has far more hits than misses, I feel, when it comes to animation and their artistic stylings and overall quality. But One Punch Man Season 3 is certainly getting a lot of mud slung at JC Staff, and rightfully so, to be honest. But I feel that what they've done here with Index is chef's kiss.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the mid-thousands, they've got this reputation as like a production mill more than a production house. They are just getting every light novel property they can get their hands on and knocking out a version of it. And, sometimes like a lot of those are just done to us kind of like a standard quality. They always have like a pretty decent minimum. But like there are a lot of stylings that I liked in this. All of the characters look pretty good. Everything's pretty on model. The magic scenes especially give a lot of opportunity for flair. And the way that Academy City is presented, where you have this all of these beautiful skyline shots you're given through the show of this city, where it's all solar panels and big wind generators everywhere, and it's got like a city of the future feel to it, but it is also like a very empty city.
Yeah, that's true. We don't see a ton of lived in feeling in this big giant city of the future, even though there's 2.3 million people living here or whatever the number was. I can't remember exactly, but there's a lot of people residing in this city, but they always seem to be at work or at home.
Yeah, I kind of liked that about it. Like this is the vibe of this city. It's not anyone's real home, really. It is a place that has been created for industry and for the development of these psychic powers. You see more like spinny little vacuum robots than you do people often.
That's a good observation, actually, sort of, because it isn't a place you're there to sort of plant roots and settle down. This is a place to advance as a person, whether it be your abilities or your career or whatever progression you're looking for, and then you get out. So that makes a lot of sense. That's a good way to look at it. Like it's a nice lens to sort of look at it through, I think, there, Duffo. Yeah, as far as those sort of visuals, it does have those classic late 2000s anime textures, which it felt familiar, but it felt nice. Like we've got the expressive characters, the crisp powers, those cityscapes that you mentioned. Like it does have a sense of life to all of this. The action itself, I feel the fights were lively. Seeing the psychic sparks and the spell runes and things like that in action, really, really well done. Like not god tier animation by any stretch, but a very high quality, very energetic, very engaging, and very impressive, and got me sort of doing a few fist bumps, especially during the battle in episode 2. Color palette, I do appreciate that we've got Academy City sort of neon vibe meeting these muted eerie tones of magic rituals and sort of more standard suburban vibes in certain areas, and I think from a direction standpoint, I think it balances exposition with spectacle really well.
Yeah, as a 08 comparison, another show that we sat down with is Shakugan no Shana, the second season of that. It also has a very similar thing where the magicians have the power to just make people disappear when they're doing a fight, and they're fighting in this big empty city that then repairs itself afterwards. But in that show, they make, in my opinion, a poor decision, which is that particular spell has a red tint to it, and so everything is just colored red for the whole fight scene every time they do a fight scene.
That's a bit of a painful choice. I do like how they explained like exactly what you touched on there regarding when these fights and abilities are happening, it's almost happening in a vacuum where society and things are still going on about their day around that. And that's a smart way to lessen the amount of detail need and the potential, I guess, blowback and damage off the back of these things. But no, overall, I feel JC Staff understood the assignment here. It is of that very familiar fantasy quality and standard that they're known for. Like the characters, the art style, it reminded me a ton of Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, just in a more futuristic society instead of a fantasy scape.
You're completely right about characters being very expressive too. One thing I love is any time that there is a biting session where Index has bitten him a lot, there's just like these huge circles that appear on him all over.
So many too. It's like, 20 sets of bite marks all up and down his arms and legs and face and whatever. Like, but it just works. Like I said, it doesn't break the immersion. It doesn't break the tone. It just keeps you on that sort of track, enjoying life, enjoying these characters, enjoying this world that's starting to sort of unfold in front of our eyes. Have you got some favorite scenes and moments you wanted to highlight before maybe we start talking soundtrack and voice acting?
Yeah, I definitely am coming back to the healing scene in my head. The one where, the Index through her John's pen self is trying to get the teacher to help her do this magic spell. And what they do here is that she starts using the blood that is bleeding out of her body to draw this ritual circle on the table.
So brutal.
And then she's like, oh, what's that? And then just starts getting her to grab random shit around the room and turn it into a little diorama of where they're at. And then as they start doing this singing and this chanting, you see this there's shaking. You see these characters start melting on the table in front of them, and this angel that starts appearing over their heads. And then as soon as the teacher sees it and panics, the angel shatters away, and there's just this robotic connection failed.
It's so well done. It's so well
good.
Done, that scene. I think it's the strongest scene in the first 3 episodes by far, because like you said, it's eerie, it's tense. The tone is totally different to everything we've had up until this point in these 3 episodes. And yeah, it just sort of makes you wonder what else is going to happen in this series, because there's so many genre jumps in these 3 episodes, and just going from funny to sad to cheeky to whimsical to violent to action to adventure to now almost horror adjacent with this creepy ritual and using her own blood to put this summoning circle down. And again, it just had me. It had me. And it's certainly my favorite scene in these 3 episodes by a long way. But there was some other sort of moments I wanted to shout out, that first introduction to Index and Touma in his apartment, I thought was really fun. It was just so absurd, but it just worked. And I'm just yeah, I get it. I'm along for this ride. I think this is great. That dress teardown where she's got, I've got this robe that is, imbued with all this holy energy that nothing can penetrate. Look, take this knife, Touma, and stab me. It's going to be fine. He goes, well, I'm not going to stab you, but I'm going to test it other ways. And he just puts his right hand on her shoulder. And I love that nothing happens for a few seconds, and Index is I told you so. This thing is, it's impenetrable. You don't have to worry about this holy robe. Then the clothes just disintegrate in front of our eyes. So unintentionally hilarious, but really nice sort of character building moment there for our 2 sort of co-leads, and it just had me cackling.
It's a nice detail that anytime you see Index in future, there are these huge safety pins holding her clothes together.
And again, the continuity and just the attention to detail with the storytelling. I've seen so many massive budget films and live action and other animated things, or just anime in general, where they don't have that memory or just the budget or the care to keep those little details going, where the shirt's got a rip in it, and then the next scene is brand new again, where
absolutely,
they do just remember these little nothing, well, not nothing details, because it comes from a great little scene, but again, just such a high level of care and respect shown to this material, which I really, really appreciate. In episode 2, we sort of mentioned it earlier, that fight between Touma and Steel, that was fantastic. It was tense. It was edge of your seat stuff. We've got fire magic getting thrown around, and they're summoning, Sentius, which is the king of witch hunters.
Yeah, it's like a pope.
Yeah, it's this fire demon pope thing that comes up, and so cool. And you sit there and go how's Touma going to get out of this? And he's there using his right hand to sort of negate and deflect a lot of the fire ability coming at him. But then, like we sort of touched on at the beginning, he uses his brain and his grey matter to think how he can ultimately defeat Steel, where even though we do have this flashy battle and there's really great electronic background music that is building this battle up to this big crescendo moment, but we get this slasher logic that ties into it, where he's sort of utilizing the sprinkler system to to wet the various runes that Still has put around the place, but Still's like, I've got this, this is magical special paper, like water isn't going to do anything. He's like, well, no shit, but the ink on the paper doesn't really react very well to water, and so the ink on the runes start running, which weakens his abilities, that then allows Touma to run up and give him that one big knockout punch, like you said, that sends Steel spinning. And it's just such a cool moment, because that fight itself goes for about 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, slasher logic is a really great way to put that. I like that phrase a lot. And that is absolutely what we're seeing here. Like, he gets that clue from Index, from, her grimoire self, saying, he can only cast this because he's using Germanic runes. And he's like, oh, okay, I got to run and find the runes. And he runs down to the next floor. And then you see there are just hundreds taped everywhere. And he's got this moment of, oh, fuck, like, how do I get rid of all this?
It's so good. And so I enjoy that there is just this layer and level of intelligence in this anime that weaves in with the absurdity and the slapstick comedy and stuff like that. Because the other scene, like, not a big moment, but just a nice little funny chuckle-worthy scene, is after, Index has been healed and Komawe sort of asking, like, Touma, like, how do you know each other? What's going on here? Like, why is this beautiful young girl, like, in your house? Why is she damaged? And then he's like, oh, it's my sister.
She's my sister.
Yeah. And Komawe does not buy it at all. She's like, you look nothing alike. Your proportions different, your eye color, your hair, da, 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 da. So I appreciate that instead of, a lot of anime slice of life 101, they'd go, oh, okay, no, that's fine. But instead, she completely dismisses it. So we get like this goofy cover story comedy that just backfires immediately, and just, again, goes to the writing that is just so intelligent and so refreshing, I feel.
Yeah. Another fun knock-on thing for Magnus, anytime you see him after this in the future, all of his runes are on, like, professionally printed cards. like he's gone down to Office Works and gotten a bunch done.
That's what I mean. Like, it's so smart. Like, I love the follow-on and the flow-on effect from things that ripple through these first episodes into future episodes and seasons. Like, it's so, so great. And any other sort of shout-outs you wanted to mention as far as favorite scenes and moments before we shift into soundtrack and voice acting?
I'm happy with that, especially since I'd love to talk about the voice acting on this, because I really enjoyed it.
First, we'll talk the opening and ending really quick before we jump into music and then voice acting. I feel the opener is so strong. Sai Missing is the song title by Mami Kawada. It's very 2000s, very 2000s. I mean that in the best way possible. Like, I love the mixture of synth, piano, and vocals. Like, it's just a fun tone setter of a track. And then the accompanying video off the back of that for the opener, it introduces us and showcases a ton of characters, as well as showing that vibrancy of Academic City, but also the battles that are constantly fought within. Like, I feel the opener is very, very strong and immediately sort of gets you in the mood for what's to come.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It's got a Matrix vibes as it's doing, like, a lot of the data flowing in, which fits with the sort of like techno-ish ballad that they're doing here.
As far as the ending, Rimless by Iku is the song. Again, we get that tried and tested formula with a lot of anime openings and endings throughout the 2000s, where high energy, big energy opener, low energy, reflective, slower ending. And that's on display here. And it works. Like, it's fine. Like, it's something I'm more apt to skip through to the next episode instead of letting it play, but it works.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's got the, like, the peaceful bike scene and, the music there. I think, yeah, it's just kind of like brings the tone down at the end and settles you.
Yeah, as far as the use of music, though, throughout the first 3 episodes, I feel it's done so well and so strongly. Like, the music at times almost comes up to being its own character in some of these key moments where it's just so noticeable. And again, don't mean that in a negative way, because it really does elevate the material that's on the screen, especially that sort of fight that we mentioned earlier between Touma and Steel, where the music's just building and building and building and just adding so much tension and, like, edge of your seat hype to what's about to happen in that fight, that it just works. And they balance that, I think, really well. Like, the OST, like, I feel it really leans into dramatic beats, flourish of electronic sound here and there, but it really matches and complements the sort of the show's science versus magic motif. And yeah, the music really, really stands out to me. Like, as far as stuff I've watched recently, whether it be, this or current stuff from this current 2025, now 2026 season, I feel it's some of the stronger usage of music that I can remember.
Yeah, no, really impressed with this. You're completely right about it, reflecting the science versus magic theme, because you have all of these characters initially that have very techno-sounding themes, and part of what makes Magnus stand out so much, introducing the world of magic in, is that his theme is on the organ, and it's playing like this huge, dramatic, like Davy Jones type music with all these runs and these huge organ chords, and you're like, oh shit.
So good though, so good. As far as the voice acting, anything you wanted to mention? Any notable standouts or any sort of performances you feel sort of stand above any others?
Yeah. So when I watched it for Endless '08, I watched the English dub and I watched the Japanese for this one. And this is one where like I do feel strongly about the English dub being really solid. It is a Funimation one. Two main girls here. Index is Monica Rial, who does a lot of these sort of like squeaky, high pitched, very energetic voices. And then we have Brittany Kabowski as Misaka. Brittany Kabowski is someone I've gotten I think she's one of my favorite 2008-ish voice actors from this time period. I really love how she gets into the roles. This is like, going into the future, she's a character that needs a lot of range. There's a whole plot line with her having all of these different clones in the future, and then like different clones have different personalities. But even just as her standard railgun, like she sells this character for me really well.
Yeah, Brittany with her English sort of voice acting is phenomenal as Misaka. Like I love her in that role. And yeah, she's got such a distinctive vocal delivery. And the second I heard a few sort of words come out of her mouth, I'm like, I know who that is. That's bloody Rimuru from Slime, or that's someone from blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a distinctive delivery, but she really works so well as Misaka in that role. I really appreciate not only Atsushi Abe and Micah Solisod, who both play Touma in their Japanese and English interpretations. I remember watching it in sort of the, that 2009, 2010, got the Japanese experience. But the sort of the most recent watches have been on the English experience this past week or so. And it works. Like you said, it's a really, really strong cast they've put together here for the English VA. And it fits tonally. It fits the characters. It doesn't feel campy or hammy like we did get a lot of the time with some of those 2000s English VAs that ran rampant. So, yeah, no, thumbs up to everyone involved. I really, really enjoyed the performances. I felt they were very strong. I felt like, we get that gruff, unlucky hero in Touma sold to us perfectly in both the English and the Japanese. Index, we get sort of that bright, quirky and emotionally expressive sound in both sort of languages as well. And yeah, we get that feisty and confident sort of interpretation of Misaka in the English and Japanese as well. Like, yeah, I can't sort of speak highly enough and can't really floor any of sort of the character interactions I've had so far in the English the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, Brittany Kabowski's other big 2008 anime role is Black Star from Soul Eater.
There you go.
Absolutely iconic performance there.
Yeah, she's lent her vocal talents to many a fantastic character, and yeah, she's one of the best at what she does. So yeah, shout out to Brittany there. But no, the voice work overall phenomenal. You can't go wrong whether you want to go the sub or the dub track. I feel you're going to have a fantastic experience either way. And like I said, that's something you can't always say for an anime from the 2000s. So,
yes,
very, very impressed. And they should be very proud of what they've put together there. We might quickly shift like the impact and any potential cultural legacy that a certain Magical Index had. Like, I feel that this anime that really sort of helped start to pioneer that mix of science and magic in anime storytelling. Like, it really boosted the popularity of those multi-layered worlds where we sort of have psychic abilities and occult forces colliding. It launched, like you said, a massive franchise where we've got light novels, multiple anime seasons, films, video games, radio recorded plays and stuff like that. So the universe has expanded to since, bring in a certain scientific railgun and accelerator as well. So it's a monster, and I appreciate that it manages to sort of fuse together philosophy, power systems, and urban fantasy that, later influenced a lot of anime and balanced ideas with battle spectacle. And it had this sprawling cast and lore that I'd say probably a lot of fans have been still theorizing about up to now. Like it's done very well. I feel at the time when I first watched this thing many, many moons ago, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't really probably give it the respect it deserved as far as the impact that it's had, 2 decades later nearly.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing, the difference of the two spin-off shows that it has, where, a certain scientific railgun, it's very much like, cute girls doing cute things, but it's a detective show, really. They're all members of Justice, which is this school agency that like helps students and like investigates different things happening around the academy. And then Accelerator has this darker tone to it, where it is kind of him getting involved in all of these like deep conspiracies. He's the other level 5 Esper who is kind of turned away from the higher ups here and the weird experiments they do and is trying to undermine them. So it's really cool breadth and range.
Yeah, for sure. As far as like taking that broader impact and narrowing it to sort of us here on the podcast, let's talk about that first impact, or I guess third, fourth, fifth, depending on how many times you've watched. How many times have you worked your way through Index by chance there, Duffo?
It will be 3 times, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So first, second, or third impact and watchability. Have you sort of started to work your way again through it for the 3rd time now, and you've watched that 3rd episode? Did it leave you wanting more? Are you going to continue on this rewatch journey, or are you going to park it and sort of shift to something else? What's the vibe check after this 3rd sort of dip of the toe?
Yeah, I think I've watched the first season recently enough. I don't need to see it again, but jumping in at season 2 is something that I think I will be doing in the very near future.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to probably continue with season 1 again after this. Like, it definitely started to scratch that itch for me as far as magic and academia and secret organizations and espers. Like, I just did Akira the other day on the podcast, so I'm very
nice.
esper focused at the moment. I can't seem to escape it, and I'm excited to sort of re-dive into all of this world lore that is available and sort of getting given to us as these episodes roll out. And the fact that 3rd episode ends with that sort of standoff between Kaori and Touma, after like rewatching that 3rd episode today and it ending there, the credits are like, shit. All right, I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm continuing on this journey because I need to see what happens with these two again.
Yeah, I think like the modern seasons of anime that are coming out at the moment, there is a lot of good fantasy in there. Fantasy is something where there are so many good recommendations you can have. But in terms of this kind of like modern sci-fi story, I feel like there's a little less of that happening these days. And it's scratching that particular itch there.
Yeah, it was scratching that itch so hard today. And like I said, I'm going to be jumping straight back in potentially after once we finish recording here to keep weaving my way through episodes 4, 5, 6 and beyond, because even though I've sort of been on this journey once before, it was so long ago for that, especially for season 1, that it's feeling very fresh and new to me again. Even though I can remember some of the beats and some of the things that play out, there's still a lot of first time shock and delayed remembrance for me, which I'm loving on these first 3 episodes. So yeah, I think you've sort of recommended a banger for us to talk about here on the podcast, because it's just so enjoyable. It's so fun. I think we'll sort of shift into our final verdict and final thoughts here. But if you are still somehow on the fence about a certain magical index, the most common compared anime on my anime list are as follows: The Irregular at Magic High School, Strike the Blood, Guilty Crown, Durara, and Shakugan no Shana, which you mentioned earlier in the podcast there. So if you've watched any of those 5 and really enjoyed your time with those, there's a damn high chance you're going to enjoy a certain magical index, and vice versa. So if you're enjoying a certain magical index already, looking for something else to watch that is adjacent or similar, check out those 5 that I just mentioned. But Duffo, as the cherry blossoms fall in this episode, leave us with your parting words, your final thoughts, and your rating, however you choose to measure a certain magical index. So that rating could be out of 10, it could be out of 500, it could be nonsensical, it could be out of 100, however you want to score this thing and measure it. It is totally up to you. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is your way to score and describe and quantify a certain magical index.
I'm happy to go with a very simple 2 thumbs up as my rating here. It is one of these shows that just like it takes a mash of genres and really pushes them together in a way that's like compelling, creates something that's not quite like anything else that's out there on the market. Has some great action scenes, is very funny as well, and it's just a great watch if you're keen to go back and watch some older anime.
I think you need to. Like, I feel Index, it's like accepting an invitation to dinner and discovering you're now touring a magical secret war. Like, it's chaotic, yes. It's fun, and it's packed with so many great ideas. If you like science versus magic, energetic characters, and world lore with bite, you are most certainly in the right city here. Academy City certainly awaits, so give it a watch the second you're done listening to this podcast. I would score this off my metrics that I'm going to make up right now. I'm going to go 8.24 favorite sandwiches out of 10 in honor of Index and her sandwich fandom. So yeah, I think 2 thumbs up, 8.24 sandwiches out of 10. I feel that is very positive, very glowing reviews, much higher than the 7 point something or other that those fools on my anime list have scored it. What are you doing over there? But anything else you wanted to mention or shout out regarding a certain magical index before we get on out of here, Duffo?
No, I'm thrilled that we got to watch this. It's definitely been a gem on the endless 08 journey. We've been punching through a lot of stuff like Rosario Vampire lately, or really just that's all I need to say. Yeah. So it's nice to have some really good touchstones here to just land on. Yeah, my heart sort of broke a little bit this second you mentioned Rosario Vampire. Going, I've done a watch on that. Will I ever do a rewatch? No way in hell unless I'm tied in into a chair and getting tortured. That is a one and done for me. But I respect the hell out of you boys going on there and checking that out again because, that is a tough one. Unlike a certain magical index, which is goddamn great. So check it out ASAP. All right, so we're done singing a certain magical index's praises, so I guess we could sing your praise a little bit more before we get on out of here. Is the best place to send everybody to find you and all the fantastic work you do at the itch.io website that's in the show notes, or is there somewhere else we can track you down? Yeah, main social media I'm using at the moment is Duffo, DUFFO.bluesky.social. But yes, the itch page Duff Hounds is a great spot for that. Like I've said, the digital initial version is out. There'll be a couple of updates, and then I'm working towards putting the print book out early this year. That's so exciting. Can't wait to have a copy of that to put on my shelves because I love physical print media. Yeah, and there's some beautiful art there of your mascot, Chio. Yeah. I'm very excited to see that realized in sort of like a tactile form because the art, like she looks gorgeous in sort of the digital edition of the book at the moment. So, but I can't wait to sort of be able to sort of flick through pages and see her and all these other fantastic characters that you've created for this world, man. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, listeners, viewers, Sugoi Squad, please rate and review not only this podcast, not only Endless 08, but all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular. Those ratings and reviews, they take, time. They cost you no money, but they mean the world to content creators like Duffo and myself here. So please do that when you get a hot minute. Pay that good karma forward. If you can drop a few dollars into our buckets, you can do so over at sakurasociety.co or via the itch.io link in the show notes. You can get yourself a copy of This World Summons Too Many Heroes, whether it be that digital edition or keep a few dollars aside for that physical edition when it comes out later this year. Yeah. Hell yeah. But when you're done checking out our long form content, you can also check out all the short form content that I'm creating on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at More Than Senpai on TikTok and Instagram there. Nice bite-sized servings of anime news and seasonal updates in video and audio form, helping you get your weekly anime fix. Check out Ice-T Aesthetics to upgrade your anime streetwear game today. Use code Sakura Society 5 at checkout. But that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode of Sakura Society, an anime appreciation podcast. Duffo, thank you so much for stopping on by, not only taking me through your fantastic game, which I'm looking forward to now playing in full now. I've got a character sheet mostly built, ready to roll, but also just to share your knowledge and insight on yet another anime that you are very well versed in. Yeah, very fun to do. Thank you for having me again. Anytime. Well, everybody, whether your anime be subbed, dubbed, or still yet to come, enjoy yourself and much love to all the gorgeous waifus and husbandos out there. Goodbye.
み込んだ特級呪物をきっしょありえない衛星反応キモすぎポリポリポリ